And I think we are live. Thank you very much, Phoenix Rising community. So this is what our first thing I'm gonna do. We're gonna put down in the comments, Phoenix Rising folks, people, put down in the comments what you did today to get over that fear. We've been talking about it for the last on IG, Instagram. Y'all know I'm learning to use that. So we've been talking about it over there for the last 3 days about stepping over that fear, writing down what's the worst outcome, what would be the worst thing if you decided to follow your dreams and go and open that business that's been sitting on your heart. So write down in the comments what you've been, what you've come up with. That's the first thing. Second thing is, do I have a treat for you today? I am so excited. I have Kevin today. He has accepted our invitation to interview and tell us his story. He is in the tech space. I'm not going to take away from all that he has to give you. So we're going to jump right into it. You all know I don't like to waste a lot of time. Kevin, thank you first for being here. And Kevin, I'm going to ask you the first question that I ask all my guests. I tell the superhero story and the comic book collecting story all the time, so everybody knows that to this point. So Kevin, tell us your origin story, man. What makes you and I'll come up with a tech superhero in a minute, but what makes you our superhero of the day?
I think what makes me my the superhero of the day is I just have a surmountable amount of patience and due diligence, and I get that from my father. Both my parents were Marines, but my dad is a master sergeant, retired from the Marines. And watching him with his discipline and him being from Brooklyn, it is ingrained in me that I'm not necessarily so much of a knucklehead as some people I know, and just how I am as a father. Even I've learned already that I have a lot more patience than some of my peer parents have or want to even have, and I understand that. And I'm very, very humble about patience yourself to take in information that you might not have even taken if had you not taken the time to allow it to be taken in. Um, so I think those to me those are my superpowers. Maybe my better half might tell you something else different, but what I believe and what I've worked with for most of my life, is that, and my wife would agree that my patience, if anything else, she's like, you're just one of the most patient people I've ever known. She won't always admit it, of course, and that's okay because she's my better half. She don't have to.
Right.
Um,
So
but it helps. So
quick question. What is the name of your company again?
yes, sir. Name of my company is O Denny Services. OHH. My last name Denny Services.
And when did you start that?
In 2013.
Okay. So because this we've been focusing on getting over. So you started in 2013. So in 2012, what were you doing exactly?
So I graduated as a computer scientist from Virginia Tech, mostly over in the DMV. I was doing a lot of federal government contracting work.
Okay.
And so, honestly, even though my company is tech, the cool story behind it is my company originally was for music. I started DJing and I was in the city and I heard somebody DJ a certain way that I've always heard music. I'm 36. I'm an 80s baby. I'm all about 80s, 70s and going with that kind of music, going to the 90s, of course. And I love my old school because my parents playing all that great music for me. And when I was in the city, I never heard how people knew how to combine that with hip hop and do it in public. Say, hey, this hip hop song took from this old school song. And I was inspired by this one DJ. And he told me, you can go do this. And I'll come let you go practice for a week, buy this instrument used. You come back, you can have my spot for an hour and I'll let you do it for free. I was like, what? And that's literally how Old Denny Services started because I started DJing and then I actually got gigs. And I was like, well, where am I going to funnel this money? Well, how do I handle this? And I started talking to a friend of mine who's a CPA, and bada bing, bada boom, she walked me through it. This is all in Maryland too.
Okay.
And we walked her through it, and Denny Services LLC was born. And
So you tell us you got in the business by accident?
essentially, that's why I was like, this is a crazy like way to how I am now from where I started. It was just like, well, you might as well. Like, I always had the idea and knew the benefits of an LLC. I just didn't know the correct way to start it, what I was supposed to do, how do I get clients. I wasn't really guided on that much, but I did know I had some other talents other than what I was getting paid for. That somebody inspired me to go, why don't you just give it a try? If that's what you love, go for it. You love music. You keep talking this talk, Kev. You need to go ahead and do something about it. Otherwise, I won't hear it from your mouth anymore. That's literally how some of my friends are like, yo, you keep talking about this, do it. And I was like, okay. So I did. And
So you
go ahead.
so you said you always had the idea.
I did.
When did that idea start?
Oh man, I believe the idea started when I was in high school. This is before 2002, because in my high school I was trained actually in computer A plus, CompTIA A plus, which is computer hardware training, and I also had Cisco network training. And at the end of my Cisco network training, one of my teachers said, you know, when you leave here, you could actually not have to go to college with the skills that we're giving you. And if you can pass this test, you can easily come out of there making, 60,000. At that time, I was like, what? From high school? And he gave a story about a student that he taught came out, had his own boat. And from there, I was like, so I could make this kind of money, and I could also technically work for myself because all I had to do was put ads in the paper to get this kind of work. Because I actually did that in college. When I got home, I put myself a few ads and just did a little computer technician work here and there. And that even sparked more of the idea of like, wait a minute. I could probably do this myself or have my own company. And then to really egg it on, what happened was in 2009, there were these gentlemen that I came across when I was working at the Pentagon, because I did federal government contract. All of them were independent workers. None of them had a college degree. All of them were making nothing less than $200,000. And when they sat me down and showed me their own contract and said, Kev, this is how much an hour they're making off of you. This is how much an hour you could get if you were working for yourself. Here's what they showed me. They laid it all out. And from there, it sparked my actual journey to going, at some point, I'm going to make this happen. And then the music thing and making it start with the LLC just became an accident. And then when I started it, I was like, well, wait, I have an LLC. I know people who trust me in what I do with my work. So after that music thing even started, I started going out and looking for clients a little here and there, doing websites and stuff like that. So how it started was more of like this little seed. If I'm trying to kind of draw what happened, and
Right.
it grew. This little seed of a teacher saying you can make this amount of money without college degree, blah blah blah. And then there's these group of coworkers who were like, you're getting played. Essentially, it's what they were kind of trying to. You're kind of getting played, and we want to show you what we're doing so you can do it like us, because this is what we're doing, and we don't even have the degree that you have. Right. You have a much higher degree than us in computer science from a very good school, Virginia Tech, and we're making triple what you're making.
Right, and we don't have any problem saying you're getting played, because we all know that that's what capitalism is. If you're either one or two things, you're either achieving your dreams or helping somebody achieve theirs. So, on Phoenix Rising, our community understands, that there's a difference between being an employee and employer, and there's a difference between a business owner, and there's even a difference between working in your business and working on your business. And we're all trying to get to working on our business, not working in our business, and some of us are at different levels. So
yes, sir.
The conversation you had with the gentleman who kind of laid it out for you, like there's a difference, like you're working for somebody. What year was that you had that conversation?
That was, I believe, I was at the Pentagon, 2007, 2009. I want to say about 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
Was that, and from there, what ended up happening, though I didn't get into, I'm gonna just go automatically get my LLC. This was just another trigger. They were like, Kevin, when you leave this project, this is the amount of money you should no longer go below when you ask. And we don't care if somebody laughs at you or not. Trust me, move on to the next person. So when that contract lost money and they were letting people go, whatever, and they were kind of like all my mentors on this, and they're like, trust us, you can get this money, probably more. And I just didn't believe them because my eyes were never open to this. I just didn't understand this world yet. It was just like
Hmm.
this whole contracting and hourly. I just didn't get it. And I didn't get the value of how much money was really happening in the federal government and the way that we were doing. I had no idea. And so I actually went and I took about maybe a month and I went on all these interviews. And I still remember to this day, I followed their advice. I was on an interview with this guy. I can't remember. We'll just generically say Eric. And I asked for a certain amount. I think it was like 82, because at the time I was like 61,000 at that time or something. And they're like, do not go below 80, whatever. I think it was 80. And I said, yeah, I want 82. And the guy literally was like, you're not gonna get that. I was like, well, thank you for your time, sir. I appreciate it. And it just that was it. And the cool thing with that story was the next person who decided to hire me actually increased the salary, because they're like, if we take you at this salary, it actually makes you look bad. It makes us look bad because we're taking some guy who's asking for such a low thing, and they're gonna go, well, why is his rate so low? Like that doesn't make any sense to us. So
So
they
is this
actually increased my rate to make it look
above 82?
good.
You said above
It
82?
was above 82.
Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Hold up. Slow down, because I make sure people hear this. So you were taking 60, and this is just on the employee side, because like I said, our desire is to inspire people to live their dreams in the business that was the same business that you knew in high school you should start, but took you some time, college, 2012. So I want to highlight this point. So even when you were still an employee, the fact that you told yourself, because you had some mentors, that my value is more than 60, I'm not going to take anything less than 60, and 82 was your number. And the fact that you turned down someone who wasn't going to give you 82 led to another opportunity where they said, that's still too low. We have to give you more so we don't look bad. Is that what I heard?
That's exactly what you heard.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I think that's an important point. Like for you, it was like it was some time ago, but for a lot of people, they're in their jobs, or they don't know how to negotiate. They're just happy to have a job. And again, we're not. If you're a worker bee, that's fine. We need worker bees. And then there's another set of folks. There are people who want to be business owners who don't want to work for anybody because they're too prideful, whatever. There's a whole lot of reasons why folks don't want to work for anybody. And then there's another level of people who own multiple businesses. We want all people to get to that level, right? Where you're sitting and you have a equity stake in a number of different businesses. That's where we want. But right now, we know we got to get you from employee to your own boss.
Right.
And when and one of those steps is realizing that even as an employee, you have negotiation power.
Yes.
It's because once you realize that, now this is what I'm going to give it back to you. Once you realize that, what did that do for you?
Well, let me also give you just a little thing that was cool. When I was in college and I got my first job at IBM, I negotiated then too. They gave me 59, and I was like, hey, can you jump this to 61? Because why are you guys giving me this funky number? They're like, all right, cool. I was like, and a lot of kids at that time would have never even thought to ask that.
Right.
And I was like, why wouldn't they give me a little simple jump? 2,000. So yeah, when that happened, I was as surprised as you just acted. I was just like, so that's another really good point about the story though. I was fearful about doing this, but I still did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did trust the confidants that told me this. I also trusted that my own, confidence in myself a little bit. Even though I did hesitate and I had some anxiety even over it, I still did it. And when the guy said no, I kind of was like, all right, that's cool. I can, and you know what ended up happening? You're gonna get. We need to make you look better in front of our client by increasing your salary. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with my skill sets technically. You just want to increase my salary to make me look good in front of somebody. Let me just repeat that. You just want to increase my salary to make me look good in front of somebody. So that's when I knew the line of business I was in. I was like, okay, I get it. And after that, I even made a note. I said, I'm not in 3 years. By the time I hit 30, I need to be at 6 figures. I gave myself that. And me and another friend of mine made that pact. And he's, man, I got so many networks of folks that I should put you on to. That's anyway. He's a year older than me. He's been a director on some major federal places. It's amazing. But we made a pact that we were like, we're not going at this age, at this point, we're going to have 6 figures. And I actually got to that point before I turned 30, simply because I was moving on these federal government contracts and all of that. Mm-hmm. So these little things were giving me this confidence, like an understanding of the environment that I was in. Because of course, right. This is a collection of situations that allowed the opportunity to happen, the things that happened, gave me the opportunity. So it was a turning point of me understanding how to negotiate, what negotiating look like, what not.
Okay, I'm gonna
to be afraid of.
I'm gonna need you to go back because you froze on that one. Right, go back to, because I like that. Go back to negotiate. You froze on that one, so I want to make sure everybody gets it. So you go back to negotiate.
Yes, the negotiation part. What I learned about was know your worth. Don't be afraid of no, and know when to even ask for more when you see what the company is doing and what they value. And that means you have to do your own research too. Mm-hmm. Like if you know that there's a company that has a contract, we're just, of course, talking about my situation, federal government contracting, and they have a contract with a certain agency, and you're like, I know how much money they're getting, and they're asking for certain skill sets, and you look up those skill sets, and you're going, hey, wait a minute. You guys are asking for this, but what I've seen and what the years of numbers, the number of years of experience that I've seen, this is a little bit low, don't you think? And they'll just either say yes or no. And the thing about just approaching it in that way and saying no, they'll give you more information. Well, here's the reason why, or you're actually right. Let me go back to my supervisor, talk about that. You gave me some information that I didn't actually know. You probably should increase that. Thank you, Kevin. Or I'm sorry, Kevin, we don't have the budget for that. And then you can also make your decision to say, I think I'm okay. Let me go somewhere else. But it's important to understand that saying no does not mean that it has anything to do with your skill sets. It has nothing to do with that. You can say no to anything. Don't be afraid to ever say no to a salary that you think is too low. They can do is go with this is all we can give you. They're not going to go, well, since you said no to that, we're just going to reset your application. So no, what he is at this point, this is great. Or again, what opens up an opportunity is, let me go talk to my supervisor and see what we can do about that. You don't know, but never be afraid to know.
Never be afraid to know. We're gonna bookmark that right there. Never be afraid to know, because I think that's got to be an entrepreneur's mantra, a business owner's mantra. Never be afraid to know, because you can't sell anything if you're afraid to know, because people are going to tell you no. So now we are at 6 figures, and we're still doing federal government contracts. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
When at this point of 6, because the way I understand most people's minds work is, if I'm making 6 figures, I don't want to make no moves right now because 6 figures, I can live pretty decent. Even in the DMV, I can live okay on 6 figures. You know,
I ain't
depending
never
on
did that
how.
anymore. Since I've gone, I'm like, but yes, you're right. Yes, sir. So
But you
this is
made a different decision. Am I correct?
yeah, and it's circumstance. So I'll explain. I think the healthy way that I didn't just like jump the boat because where I'm at right now happened only last year, where I'm completely away from an employer and I
Okay.
am me. Um, it took some time, and it was all happenstance, just like how my LLC started. Uh, the next time I actually took on some client work for my LLC, then I became tech. And what ended up happening was there was a contract that I was on federal, because all the time what happens is they run up money and people get let go. It was just a part of the game. Like when I tell people, oh, I was laid off, they're like, oh, dang. I was like, no, this is part of the game.
Right.
I'm completely aware of this. I know that they just burn up money just to burn it up. And they're like, oh, dang, we can't pay you no more. You got to go. Like there's that in a nutshell what happens. So
Right.
that ended up happening in about 20, let me see where I'm at, 2013 actually, that ended up happening, and I took on a nursing services company called Ideal Nursing Services. They're in the middle of Northwest DC. Ideal Nursing Services, and I took them on because when I got let go of this contract for like a third time, I think it was a third time, I was like, you know what, I don't feel like going back to right to work. I'm gonna take on this. And the connection with this company was my better half and I were dating. We were looking for like this a religious counselor per se, and the owner of this company, she was Jamaican, was also a minister, and I had a connection that I was put on to this lady, and she knew about my skill sets and said, hey, why don't you do a little work for me? We need a tech person. And that's how that actually occurred. And so when I came off of this contract, I went back to her and said, I'm gonna be you guys IT person for however long I need to be. I don't feel like going back to work. I want to just work for you. Let's talk about a salary or an hourly rate that's workable for what you guys can do. See, we talked about it. It was a little bit lower than what I wanted at the time, but I had saved up money. I was still single. I was okay, totally great. And that also launched me to a whole bunch more connections. One of the first problems that they had were that they had issues with their networking services. And so I had to make phone calls. I had to check wires. They were in this little townhouse in the middle of DC. You know how that can be. And it's all kind of very interesting, a 3-story town level house. And I actually got all the way up to the Verizon Eastern, I think, region director about the issue that they were having with their internet because it kept cutting on and off. This is a nursing aid uh, uh, let me explain how what they're a nursing aid company. So they have nursing aides, that take and that have the Medicaids and paying these nursing aides by the week, and they turn in their timesheets and those things like that. So they're going into homes. So for instance, like my granddad's got a nursing aide that comes into my mom's house every day. They would be taking care of that, and of course it's through Medicaid. So they're having internet issues that they were just going in and out, and so that's what led to this whole me talking with Verizon for like a month and figuring out that it was their actual architecture. And what ended up happening was I have all these connections still now to this day to the Eastern Region directors and all that for Verizon. So that gave me another connection. And this was the first time I hired some folks under me to fix their problem. And because of my networking skill sets that I already had and hardware, because computer science is totally different than what I thought it was and what I was taught in high school. Completely
Mm-hmm.
two different things. But because of those backings and a friend of mine, the same guy I was talking to you about, who's you probably should interview, he also had Cisco networking in his background, and he had a little bit more of it because he actually got certification. Called him in, had a coworker of mine who knew how to do, called him in, and we ride that whole and made it wireless. And I was like, and I planned it. I did the wiring schemes for them. We talked about the prices. I priced out all the things that I bought. I did all of these things. Uh, and it was just an amazing thing. I understood there are a lot of lessons learned in that about like how much you're supposed to really pay people to do things for you. Because I'm very, very fortunate that I have people that love me because I didn't know
Right.
what I was doing and what I was supposed to be paying at all. And I think back to now, I was like, man, I really wish I had enough money. I'd just give it to them right now because I had no idea. And they just clearly they love me enough to know like Kevin is just trying to do what he's thinking. He doesn't know how this should work.
Right.
But yeah, I turned them to a wireless shop. And now my friends who are still in DC are still handling them as best as they can. The person I hired under me at the time, my friend Mike, he's actually taking them over as a client. So I took notes on them and everything. And that really opened my mind about a couple things that I really want to point out that I was also told about. Having a qualified client. What does that mean? So I'm qualified to do the job for you.
Right.
But are you qualified to know the job that needs to be done? Um, and why that's important is because you don't want time being wasted. If I do a lot of websites on the side. If I go to somebody or they come to me and they want a website done, and they're like, this is how much I want to pay you, and this is how long it should take. And I go, okay, let me run these numbers, and I send them back explanations behind. That's probably not the cost. This is how long it's going to take. This is how much you're going to have to pay. I can kind of discount you on that, whatever. If that person does not understand the value of the money that they're paying for up front and giving it to you, and they are going, why is this cost too much? I don't understand how this works. Why do I need to pay you that much for this? This should be this easy. At that moment, you can make a decision to say, I'm going to keep going with this, and I could either educate that person, maybe they're open to it, or you can go, I don't think this client is qualified to be a client for Old Denny Services. And I got that advice from somebody else who was a pastor who told me you need to make sure you find qualified clients, because otherwise you're going to waste your time and you're going to lose money, because you're going to take on work that might have been underpaid because
Right.
you just wanted that work.
Right. And that's a good lesson. I mean, and I'm a firm believer in that in regards to you're not in business to service everybody. Folks always tell people the example of everybody knows what a Bentley is. If you got Cadillac money, you can't afford a Bentley. Nothing wrong with a Cadillac. Nothing wrong with it. But you can't afford a Bentley, nor in that situation with somebody with Cadillac money walk into a Bentley dealership. Like, I can't believe y'all won't take my money. We all knew you would. We all knew you wasn't gonna get. They wasn't gonna take your money before you walked in there.
Exactly. You take them out.
And a lot of times what that is when you're first in business, obviously you just want to make money and you think, but then you realize the longer you're in business, that every client is not a good client. And you can't service every client. I mean, people like to do business with people they know, trust, and like. And people like to perform services and do business with people they know, trust, and like. So it goes both ways. And if you're competent in what you do and work hard for your clients, then them berating you or trying to lower your money is not where you want to be, because time is important, and you do not want to spend a lot of time with someone who doesn't respect your time and your skill set. So yeah, you can. So yeah, I think anybody who's been in business for any point in time has fired a client. Right. It's like, hey. I mean, this is the 15th time you called me today, and we're probably not going to be able to really do this. I might even refer you out to somebody who I don't like, but we
I'm
probably
not
will
gonna
be
stranded, but you ain't gonna be in my boat.
Right. So I mean, and folks, and like I said, in our effort to inspire folks, we have to let them know that sometimes it doesn't. The deal that you think is going to happen is not going to happen the way you want it to. But on the opposite side of that, sometimes if you do the opposite and judge people too early, you'll miss a great opportunity because something that you think, oh, they won't want to buy, and then that person will buy your whole inventory because you're feeling a need that they need right now. So
Exactly.
it's that's not a judgment you make immediately, but as you get to know a client's buying habits or who they are, you'll be able to make a judgment like, what, for what you're going to cost me, I really don't want your money. It's okay. Thank you.
Exactly. And it's hard to, wrap your mind around that sometimes. You're like, no, you're like, to this money, sometimes like, oh, we're gonna get this money. And like, you don't need to get that way though.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
it's your mentality and your time is going to outshine that and give you the money you need later
right,
on, because that is creativity that you can be using somewhere else.
right.
Um,
So let me stop you there and explain how you came to that, because I think that's the other thing. How you came to your creativity and your that confidence that is oozing out of you. How'd you get to that where I'm gonna get it somewhere else? Like, I don't have to, I don't have to deal with a bad client because
yeah, I honestly, it is the thing within me. So yeah, I might have come out the bat when we started and saying I have a lot of patience. What I don't have a lot of patience for is disrespect, and somebody not necessarily valuing your time. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to go off on somebody, but I'm going to think about it thoroughly and go, you know what, this is not adding any more. It is not adding anything positive to my life. And when you have things that are giving you positivity and energy, you can take that little bit of energy and use that to create something.
mm-hmm,
And I always believe that if your creativity is being and your energy is being drained, then it's like, okay, really great example, a live one. So I told you I had two kids. I'm the main one working. My beautiful, unfortunately, always tired better half is always tired. And so all her energy is being taken away. She's breastfeeding our daughter still, and our son can be just not listen to her, even though she'll listen to me, takes all of it. So that means she's not sleeping. She wants to get back into work. And think about what's happening. She is mostly being drained of her energy. That energy that she would have had would have been used to think a little bit clearer. When she's thinking a little bit clearer, she's got a little bit more that she can give to creating something. When you have a little bit more to create something, you can come up with a product, you can come up with an idea, you can start sharing these ideas. You have time to go do things that help you grow in a way that you can gain money.
mm-hmm,
But if you are going to just say in this moment in time, I'm going to just do this because I just need to get this money, you're thinking in terms of the now and you're not thinking in terms of the later. How much more time could I have used instead of trying to go back and forth with this one client who doesn't get me, who doesn't understand me, or this is something I don't want to do. This is something that's really underpaying me. How much more time you could have used to go figure out, well, what other better clients can I find? Or what do I need to tweak to make sure I'm attracting those correct clients that will give me that money in the future way more than I could have got from this one client.
right,
And it's a critical thinking moment that you have to
mm-hmm,
stop and go, okay, hold on. Do I need? Am I broke? Am I desperate? Are they about to take my bills? I mean, like if you're in situations too, I'm not. It does not take the reality away from certain things. Maybe somebody is in a situation, they own a business, but they're about to be evicted or whatever, and they got to take whatever they got. We ain't talking about you. We talking about. I just want to make sure that we are not excluding anybody in this kind of situation. We
mm,
ain't talking about you. Trust me, you're okay. Talk about the folks that are actually doing okay, and yet they're just kind of taking on these clients and it's draining them and taking it being underpaid, and they're not wondering why the business isn't growing the way they don't want it to grow. And it takes a lot of critical thinking and self-awareness to understand that it's okay. I don't need to take this. I'm okay. We're going to be okay. And I want to grow this the right way. And I value myself and my company. And if you don't want to pay this, you're cool. I appreciate you, but we're going to have to do this another way. Or if you don't understand this, then we're going to have to do this another way. I'll put you on to whoever you need to be put on to. But it just takes a lot of critical thinking and self-awareness and knowing your worth.
All right. So you said you jumped pretty much. You cut the umbilical cord last year.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been, you pretty much you was doing a side hustle thing. And again, we don't ever berate anybody for doing a side hustle. It's just in this community, in the Phoenix Rising community, where we know that all that creativity comes when you're in the street. When you are like, okay, I need to create this money. I need to create this income stream. So that starts to those creative juices flowing, as opposed to, when I'm and we're saying start where you got to start. But at some point, to truly be to advance through the levels that we talk about here, you're going to have to cut the umbilical cord. You're going to have to say, hey, Mr. Employer, Miss Employer, Uncle Sam, whomever your employer is, I gotta go. I gotta be me. We might even use that as a tagline. Yo, Phoenix Rising, I gotta be me. But you decided you gotta be you, Kevin. What was that decision? What was the circumstances surrounding that? What made it happen?
Oh man, I got testimony to share with that. Again, like I said, this is nothing but God to me. I didn't make that decision on my own. I was forced, to some degree. iHeartMedia was where I worked at last. They were a cool and amazing company, away from something different. I was not doing federal government contracting anymore. I did not want to do that mess anymore. And iHeartMedia just fell in my lap, almost from a recruiter. And it's so funny that I was talking about music and how Old Denny Services started up, and I ended up at a company like iHeartMedia, which is, if some folks may not know, because I didn't even at the time, they are the parent company of course, iHeartRadio and a couple other things, mainly iHeartRadio. And they're headquartered here where I'm at in San Antonio. So in that situation, what ended up happening was I was essentially forced out.
Okay.
Before the pandemic happened, I was I was fighting for paid family leave and working from home. I had two awesome managers within the company who were supporting me on this as I was doing my work as well. And the reason why I was really fighting hard for this was even before I came to the company, I had children. My son was born, and our daughter was on the way. And I had already been so aware of this pay family leave and working from home because of my company being one of those who actually allowed those things, and opened my eyes up to many other places and how this is such a formidable thing to do if you are an employer. So I before I got hired, I was like, hey, look, if you guys hire me in about 6 months, I'm not gonna start to say this. Do you have my back on this? Is this a cool thing? What do you think? And they're like, I think that's 100% what you should do. And if they don't even do anything about it, we'll help you out. Cool. I went in, waited a little bit. I started talking to some women actually who had some horror stories, and they had to work right after they had their child, like a day or two, because they were like, oh, well, we don't have any doctor's note that says that you don't need to stay at home, so you can come right to work. And I'm like, what? And who does this? This is iHeartMedia. And it was bad.
You said, where's the heart and iHeart?
And their policy was horrible. So I'm like, all right, what is this? And so I got petitions and I looked up information, and I was very communicative to the HR, and we were sitting in HQ, so it was open door policy. So I talked to the CIO. We had a CTO there, the director. I just let them know, like, hey, what's going on with this? I was always in the mix and allowed to talk about it. But came this third manager of mine, and we never really hit it off, unfortunately. And the talks of what I was doing got a little bit out there, I guess, for iHeartMedia to like, and I started being targeted. Only reason why I know this is because a coworker of mine who actually left before I did, it was like, I don't like what's going on here. People are talking about you. So because they're talking about you, just because you're speaking about paid family leave, to be specific, I'm going to give you some work so we can try to take this target off you. And Lo and behold, like I said, me and the third manager never really hit it off. Things were going back and forth. I got a PIP, which I didn't even know at that time what a PIP was, which told me after I found out what it was. I was like, that's a good thing. All right, cool, cool. All right, I feel good that I didn't know for real. Like
Mm,
even being in the world, I was like, I didn't know what that was. But in that company, when a PIP is given, you can't fight it. It's they say it'll help you, and for people who don't know, it's a PIP is a progress improvement plan, and it's just when your performance goes low and they're like, hey, you got to kind of step it up, and we're just going to kind of try to track you and help you along the way. In this
right,
company, that's not what that means. It means your performance sucks to us, and we're going to just kind of let you slide along and see what happens, and we're most likely going to let you go. That's what ended up happening. Like that's how I felt, and that's what ended up happening. And all the stories, and people came to me on insider notes, were like, "Yo, Kev, when you get that, we've never heard anybody saying." I was like, "Of course not. I knew that." But I pretended like, "All right, everything's good." So I essentially got let go in the middle of the pandemic in July, and from there, I was like, I had saved a good amount of money. The 3 to 6 months savings you're supposed to have, I had doing that no matter what was happening because the pandemic started. I was like, oh, all this is going away. We putting all this money in every month. So we were good, plus unemployment. And what ended up happening was a blessing, amazing blessing. A friend of mine from Virginia Tech, black guy, computer science graduate, he was already putting in the information to the CEO and CTO in their ears about me the whole time as I was telling him about my situation. And so he was like, whenever you're ready and whenever we have the capability, we would like to just take you on. You don't have to interview. You just come on. I was like, what? Yeah, we'll bring you on salary and whatever. So, of course, I got left from this job. For 3 months, though, I was kind of left looking for employment and here and there and doing some things. But in that 3 months, I became my most creative. I think I can't remember if I sent you my personal website. I know you see the old Denny Services one, but I also have one that's thatdeveloper.dev. I created that completely on my own from the information that I gathered from iHeartMedia and just did my own thing and completely used black illustrations. I became like the web developer that I've always wanted to become. I did that in 3 months and it was ready to go. And then my friend comes back and goes, hey, why don't we just bring you on as a contractor? I said, word, that'll work. I already have a CPA that I've had for 8 years. We talk
mm-hmm.
about this all the time. She knows about my LLC. She's waiting for the ball to drop for me to do this too. Let's do this right now. And that's how all this started, how I became myself. And that in itself gave me even more confidence because I had the time to grow into being more creative and doing some things for my own self. I saw that as a preparation time. I was not panicked. My wife, of course, on the other side kind of was, but I was like, I was not panicked because I was prepared. I knew this was going to happen. I told my better half several times, like, I think they're gonna let me go or lay off because this is an entertainment company. That's why we're saving like crazy. And I just felt so prepared, and so I went through all my interviews, and even though I only got like one offer, it was an amazing time. I learned who I don't want to interview with anymore. I learned how many interviews I should never go to ever again. I learned what interviews I like, and I'll do it in the middle of it. Any interview that I'm having, I'll be like, you know what, I don't like this. I think we're good. Thank you for your opportunity. I think I should seek some other employer or some other types of work. I've done that now because I understand the value behind what is coming from an employer or the value behind how I want to work and what I'm willing to do and not do. So all this was a blessing. And so my friend pulled me on. They didn't even interview me. They were like, you got a contract. We're good. You ready to come on? We just lost a guy. We were waiting for him to kind of already go. You already knew this. Just jump on in. You got it.
So you got that contract, and then how did you begin to grow your business from there?
So before I got the contract, I was already slowly growing my business here in when I was here in Texas. And the reason why I'm saying that is I have my property manager, who I'm now his IT guy. I became that when I moved here under my LLC, doing his websites and whatever other calls that he needs me to make. I've gained a couple of other clients doing some of their websites. One black guy here, he's a notary and a real estate agent, and that's all he does. I have him as I'm kind of like his IT person on the go. These aren't like
Mhm.
sustainable contracts, but these are clients of mine who will come back repeatedly and ask me for work. Uh, my property manager does pay me for the maintenance of the site that I created, and he will actually up that because me and him work very, very close together as well. So he actually gives me a little bit of extra boost because he wants to also boost me in front of his property manager
Mhm.
friends because
Right.
they don't have what he has. And so that's how I've actually been sustaining it for a while. It's like, how do I just jump? And the reason why I never jump, and this is also, I think, very important why maybe some people are scared. Um, I didn't properly plan how to save the money in order to go, I think I can go ahead and start this LLC. I think it's very important to know that you have the skill sets to always work for yourself, but you
Yes.
need to also have um, the proper planning to do so. Hey, I got great skill sets. I know I can make $100,000. I'm just gonna quit my job tomorrow. Okay, so how much you got in savings? How you gonna pay 3 6 months worth if your business starting doesn't make anything?
Right.
How do you go for that? And for me, that's what it was. It was I I had to understand that I needed to properly plan in order to just jump the gun completely and become my own LLC. I never did that.
Mhm.
Through my story, it was all happenstance. So I wasn't really guided necessarily on that part to to do the proper planning to be ready to jump the gun and become an LLC. And so that's how I came to this part where it's all happenstance. And now at this point, I understand that I'm definitely saving that money working with my CPA because at some point I want this contract to go and I want to do some other work and find some other things. I'm also
Right.
working on a children's book. We're talking about streams of income. I have all these things and creativity that came from that 3 month span. I have a graphic designer now that I'm working on a children's book about family that I've been working on and plotting for about 2 years. But that 3 months, I found somebody who's going to stick with me and make this book happen.
Right.
So it's just so important that we went back to this point about uh, critical thinking and taking the time and effort to think about what your next move is going to be and not just taking what's in front of you.
Right. Right.
And again,
So
that's a difficult thing.
let's do, and then you say happenstance, but as I've taken the notes here, um, it doesn't like I know, and I always and I do this with a lot of business owners. I talk to a lot of business owners, and anybody on this who's seen the interviews can go back, and I always say that folks who have their own business take a lot of stuff that they do for granted. But when I look back and look at kind of where you came from, out of Virginia, out of high school with computer science training, at Virginia Tech, and then doing your government contract, having the mentors that kind of gave you the confidence to understand what your negotiation power was, and then moving to, with the DJ and being able to take your music, your love of music and your talent, and your talent with your computer science talent, computer skills, and your music, all this stuff looked like it culminated. Then, going to iHeartRadio, like I said, that it culminated to you being able to be creative during a pandemic and be able, and your time. I'm sorry, I missed one. And your time uh, servicing your client in DC at
Oh,
Ideal
yes.
Nursing Services. So all this stuff is not kind of like happens. I mean, it might. And again, being able to put the architecture together, being able to reach out to Verizon and get up to the Eastern, all those things are right. They're regular people stuff with extraordinary determination.
Mm,
So so don't take those. So and I, like I said, I deal with I talk to a lot of business owners, and they're all like, oh well, I just it had to be done. That's true, and that's what we want people to get to. Like it had to be done, and you got that business in your head, that thing that is out there, that you're supposed to create. And that's the thing. I'm not telling you to go look. I said there's something in every business owner that I've ever known that they were like, oh man, I should have did this years ago. Um, And so that's what we're trying to get to is the inspiration. So I want to ask you a few questions because again, I only got you for a little while. As far as
Okay.
books, because we're big on reading here.
I'm so happy
So
to share it.
so tell us something about some of the books that you would recommend to the Phoenix Rising community.
Most certainly. When I saw that question, reason why I got so excited about that, books is my thing. From my children to little cousins to friends of mine, if there's a book that hit me and they're okay with me buying it for them, I will buy it for them right away. Um, the first one of my favorites is Think and Grow, A Black Choice. That's Dennis Kimbrough, and I forgot the other. The, um,
Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. Think and Grow
yeah,
Rich, a
Think
Black.
and Grow. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Think by
I
Dennis Kimbrough. Yep.
Yeah, Dennis Kimbrough, and I forgot Napoleon Hill.
Right.
I don't have the book on me. I usually have it on my desk because I've read it at least 3 times. And it's got all the bookmarks and everything. I show it off to people and I'm like so excited about it. Um, I love that book because whether you're Christian or not, for me, the values in that book definitely for me represented Christian values about moral, encouraging, not being afraid. Uh, and the title itself doesn't reflect really the information inside the book because you see Think and Grow Rich, and of course Black Choice, but Think and Grow Rich. You're just like, oh, this is about let's help me get more money, but very little in that book. And I'm assuming, I don't know if you've read it or not. I know it's an old school book. A lot of people I know who are in business, especially Black people, have read this book.
Right.
But very little in that book is discussed about actual money. What's discussed in that book mainly and mostly is principle and values and what it took. Madam C.J. Walker, they talked about all these types of heroes that we've heard in a different light when it came to business and dealing with overcoming their challenges and what that meant. Like honestly, famous Amos cookies. No one told me when I was a kid growing up, as much as Black history my mom put in me, maybe she didn't know either, that the guy was Black. That's in that book. And that's what I learned from it. I had no
Mm-hmm.
idea. I mean, little tidbits. I'm sure there's plenty more. I still don't even know. So much going on. But I learned that in that book. And I took away from that, like, I was so inspired by the principles that were followed time and time and again when our folks were challenged, when
Right.
they were down to their last whatever they had in them, and they kept going. And then it blew up. They became history. They had these amazing businesses. So that's one of my favorite books to always recommend.
Okay, so
My
let me. So for the Phoenix Rising community, as we work on our affiliate in negotiation with our affiliate link with Audible, we Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. It'll be down in the comment section. Also, Kevin's website, both of his websites will be down in the comment section. So definitely check him out. Kevin, let me ask you. We always ask because we are a community, and one of the things, well, I need to ask you 2 things. One, because we're a community, I need to ask you what's on your whiteboard because there might be somebody in the Phoenix Rising community that can help you solve one of the problems that you might be dealing with as far as moving your business forward right now. So what's on your whiteboard?
uh that's funny because my whiteboard is like right here, as you can see. I was gonna look at it and I was like, I can't even tell you what. There's too much stuff. Um, it's something really minute, but I've learned this from a friend of mine who took a class on this. I have a big interest in speed. I'm laughing because I'm like, I have a big interest in learning how to speed read.
Okay.
And I was taking a course, but I did a young man a favor. We have an in-home daycare person come into our house and started coming in last week, and she had a grandson who just needed some direction. He was a very tech-like guy like me. He's Black, and I gave him my account to udemy.com where I had bought all these courses because I use something else now, and I had my speed reading course actually on there. And the reason why I feel that is such an important skill set to learn I learned this from the friend of mine that I hired who worked with me at Ideal Nursing Services, who's been a director of many, many places. Um, that being able to read quickly and take in the information that you've read, understand it, and then also apply it really helps your leadership. You're
Mm-hmm.
reading thick documents, documents of 100 pages. What he was doing, at least, he's reading 12, 50-page documents because he was a director of a large, he was at Amtrak, actually. It's be open. He was at Amtrak as an IT auditor. They created a position for him as a director. He was there a short time, but that was one of the things he told me he went. He said, "Yeah, I took a speed reading class." I said, "What? You took a speed reading class?" And from there, he read the biography of Steve Jobs, which is, I think, close to like 1,000 pages, some crazy number. He said, "I got through that in 2 days, almost three." I said, "What?" And he was like, "Because of the speed reading, and
Right.
it helped me understand how I can take in information without missing anything. And I'm not just glazing over the words. I'm just learning how my brain actually works and how I'm interpreting the information on a page." And I said, "Wow." So I that's something I haven't really gotten to. Um, but I think that is a skill set that could go a far way with any business owner. Learning how to read, because think about it, we're reading contracts. Some of these contracts are long. You have
Right.
people sign NDAs. You got to work with lawyers, attorneys, all these types of things. As a software developer, in in my area of work, I've always had to sign NDAs. So that means I've always had to take the time to read those NDAs
Right.
because if I didn't take the time to read that, and let's say I was a creative and I created something on their watch, even if I'm at home, they can actually say they own that. I discovered that reading it, and also someone else telling me, "You need to go back and read that line." And I was like, "How do you know that?" I had an attorney read it, but I think that's just an important skill set to have that
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear a lot of people have. And my friend put me onto that. And I think that's something that could excel you even above other people who might own their own businesses who don't have that skill set. They're
Right.
able to read things and pick it up just like that.
Right. Don't compete, dominate. Don't compete, dominate.
Nope. Exactly.
So one thing I want you to, there's a number of folks. I know you do websites. Do you do any content creation or content management for social media, or is
I
that
have
is
been
that it?
asked that several times. Um, I I will not say I have experience in that,
Okay.
uh, but I have the ability to do it. But I will say I'm part of a network called Black Code Collective. It's actually on the East Coast, and it was started by uh, a few graduates. One actually is a young lady by the name of Taylor Poindexter. She graduated from UVA, and it's called Black Code Collective. So I have a network of folks when I'm asked these types of things where I'm like, well, I would love to do that, but I don't know what kind of time people have. So I don't know if someone's like, well, I would like to hire him, but I need this done like in next week. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. Or I
Right.
probably could do this. I can't do it next week. So I always like to refer people to that network because it is the most extensive network that I've ever been on of Black people who are in tech, where we share all types of stories. And it is the thing that actually has been my support system in the growth of my LLC and my career since I've joined it. It has been one of the, if not the biggest support system I have. And when I talked about that iHeart story, I go back and I sometimes I'm like, man, maybe it was me. And then here comes like at least 10 other people sharing that kind of story where I'm like, oh shoot, that happened to you too?
Oh,
Dang.
okay. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Networks are important. I mean, that's what we're building here. So, I mean, our network, the Phoenix Rising Community Network, expands from Miami to Connecticut, or East Coast, now to Texas and Chicago. So we're making our way to LA. We're making our way to LA. And it's funny, just a funny story, because I'm a big, I like to spend time in Houston. I thought my first interview, because I have connections down there, would be someone in Houston, and it's San Antonio. So you never know. You never know. So,
That's true.
but one, we want to thank you for being on the. We want to thank you for coming in and taking the time out. Man, we really appreciate it. You are now part of Phoenix Rising Community. So again, if you need some the web development work, please reach out to Kevin. All his information will be down in the comment section. I mean, down in the description. Follow us on IG. If you got to this point, I'm sure you've hit like. I know I I purposely didn't do all the internet stuff because I wanted to see who's serious about what we're doing here. So if you haven't hit like and you got it this far, what are you doing? Come on, you know how this thing works. Hit the likes, hit the subscribe button, share this video. Again, we talking to Kevin. He's got his tech company. He's 36, 32. What?
36. I know. I'm
36, 36 years old. So if he jumped, you can jump. Again, we talked about how he's built his skill set over time. He's been exposed to mentors. All this stuff is possible for you. Kevin, we always give our guests the last word. And remember, we're here to educate. I think you've done that. Inform. So I'm gonna ask you the last thing. What do you have to inspire the Phoenix Rising community to get over that fear and start their business?
For one, have faith in yourself. And with faith in yourself, it starts with knowing your value. And remember that it's okay to say no, it's okay to hear no, and that you have what's already in you. You got to take the time to know who you are so you know what to take. And that is a huge strategy, a part of business. And that's going to take you far. Know thyself. And I think that's what I want to leave with. Know thyself. When you know yourself, you love yourself, you do for yourself. And when you do that, you're doing for better for all the people around you too. And they're going to have your back. And I'll leave with that. And I just want to say, I am truly honored to be on this. I know, and watching some of these interviews, there are people that have like years of experience in owning their own business. I'm kind of fresh in it still in my view. And so I'm very, very thankful to the Phoenix Rising community, to Ken, and to anybody out there. Please feel free to even just connect with me if you're just looking for some inspiration. Like I said, music is my thing, and I believe music heals, and that's one thing that I give to many, many people when they're in whatever situations they are. I'm a big guy and believer in that as well, and I believe in you. So thank you, Ken.
Thank you. And with that, we are